Right, hello everyone, and welcome back to Professional Beauty Group's Upskills series. I'm Eve Oxbury, Head of Editorial for the Beauty side of the group, and our live session today is on how to kickstart your business and your team. And this is the third and final part in our business skills series with Liz McKeon. Hi Liz.
Hello there, Eve, and hello to everybody who's joining us. And it's my pleasure to be back here again. And I suppose I want to say a special thank you to everybody who's been in touch over the last 2 weeks. And I'm so glad that everybody is finding the content helpful.
Absolutely, yeah, we've had some really great feedback for your session. So thank you so much for joining us for a third time.
I'm delighted.
Yeah. So Liz, as I'm sure everyone knows by now, Liz is a specialist business coach for the hair and beauty salon industry. And yeah, if anyone's watching and has any questions as we go along, we do want this to be an interactive session. We want to cover what you want to know. So if you've got any questions for Liz, if you're watching with us in the webinar platform, just type them in the comments in the chat box. And if you're watching on any of our Facebook channels, then just type them in the comments there. So Liz, in your previous sessions with us, you've already covered what we can learn from 2020 and also how to create a business plan that works. But today we're going to focus a bit more on, I guess, the actions you can take to kickstart your business and your team, get your team motivated. Because I think there'll be a lot of salon owners now stuck at home thinking, I guess they want to do everything they can to be as prepared as they can and to not miss any opportunities once they are allowed to reopen. But it's been a very disruptive 12 months, I suppose, for salons, I think, well, for everybody. So a lot of people are also feeling a bit jaded with having to change their plans all the time. So realistically, what can salon owners be doing now to prepare their businesses for when they can reopen?
I think in relation to teams, I think it's really important to get everybody on the same page. So if I'm the business owner, and most of the business owners that I've been interacting with, they're working quite extensively on their businesses and on their new business model and upselling their retail and just what can they improve and what can be better. Because one of the positives that have come from all the lockdowns is it's actually given people time to work on their business. But if I'm a staff member, I'm, possibly at home, just, not really thinking that much about work. So I have a slight concern that the owner will have really progressed in terms of their plans for their business, but that the staff might get a little bit left behind. So I would think in relation to building your team and getting your team really motivated, I think it's very important to reassure teams. While we've been off, we've been working on our businesses, our industry. It's such a demand for our industry now. We've got to be ready for it. And a year is a long time. A year is a long time to be in and out of work and enduring this level of upheaval. But hopefully we're coming to the end of it. And wouldn't it just be wonderful to reopen now and just say, look, we're not in control of what's going to happen with the virus and all that, but let's make this our best year yet. Let's draw a line under the last 12 months and let's go forward and make sure that everybody is really happy. Our clients know what our business is about. We're better than all our competition. We are the go-to place for what we do. We're the best in the marketplace, and everybody's going to have a much better time in our business than they would in any other salon. So let's make sure it's a whole new start, because in a way it's almost like a whole new start for the industry. And there's more of a demand for our services now than anything else, as far as I can figure out. So let's all just get on that gravy train, but make sure that your team aren't 10 steps behind you. So bring them along and let them know what your goals and what your plans are for 2021 around your business. I just foresee that anybody that's putting the time and energy and effort into working on their business, 2021 could be their best year yet. Excellent. Because there's been time to streamline and get it all ready, but your team may not be aware of that. In fact, the chances are they won't be aware of it, and that will just cause aggravation, because if your teams are 10 steps behind you, then how are you going to achieve what it is that you've planned for this year? So I think there's a lot of pre-opening work to be done with teams to make sure that your goals for your business are aligned with their values for themselves, and that everybody is on the same page.
Absolutely.
And that is going to take a bit of time and a bit of effort.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a really good point, though, as you say. I think particularly the situation we're in, where lots of people are on furlough, not as involved in the business, obviously, as they usually would be. It's easy to kind of forget that you're working away and making changes, but they're very much isolated from that. So I guess what's your advice then about bringing them on board and making sure they're engaged with these changes? Are there things salon owners and managers can do now to kind of reach out to
Yes.
them, or is it?
Yeah, I think there's quite a lot, and I think, you know, and I know there's different rules and guidelines in all the different territories, but as far as I can figure out, everybody's allowed to go on training. So I would think, you know, we're on the last, hopefully the last phase. So I think if you work out, I know if I was doing it, I would certainly say, right, okay, we've X number of weeks and we don't know what's going to happen. But, you know, even if I was to work with my team half an hour a week, every single week, to sort of plan forward. So these are my plans, and that you get your team alongside you. So I would definitely want to be working with my team at least once a week, if not more. I think there's also going to be confidence issues with staff, you know, in terms of, you know, if you're not doing what you love doing every day, then you know, your confidence around your own technical ability might go again. I think, you know, we have to be mindful that so many people have, you know, that the virus has hit their families and their homes, and I think people are a little bit fearful and all that sort of thing. So I think we've got to mind one another, and I think as a business owner we have a responsibility to mind our teams. So I think that's really important, that we find out, and that might even be a one-to-one with people, that you just check in. Where are you at? What's worrying you? What's your biggest concern about reopening? So that you start with a highly motivated team. And I definitely would be allocating one training session to the conversation in the salon.
Okay,
As a customer.
that's an interesting point. I think, as you say, everybody's had very different experiences,
Yeah.
individual circumstances. So that one-to-one conversation, I think, is, as you say, equally as important as getting the team together. And
I think so. That, and I've worked with a lot of teams, you know, over the last few months, you know, on Zoom, and you know, the feedback that I was getting was he or she didn't stay in touch with me during lockdown. So they're missing that hand holding. And I was just like, well, why didn't you contact them? Well, I didn't think I could. Well, actually, your boss thought they couldn't contact you either. So I think clear the air, give people the time, the energy, and the effort, you know, from yourself that they need. But I think, you know, you do all that, and then I think you have to get very clear about what it is that you do expect. And as a consumer, and as a customer, I try and go to when they're open, go to as many salons as I can. And I'm just putting this out there. Would you please teach your staff to stop talking about the virus? It's draining on them and it's exhausting on them. And they seem to feel, because definitely, again, when I'm talking to teams, they seem to feel that they have to check in with everybody about how they're getting through the virus. But I'm saying back to them, well, then that means you've had that conversation 10 times a day. How draining was that on you? So why don't we just open the doors with, like, welcome back, it's a whole new world, a whole new, now let's put you in the chair or on the bed or wherever it is, and let's do the best job that we can for you. So I think there's a shift to be made now in the conversations.
Yeah,
I think that's quite important, that we draw a line under it and we don't really indulge it.
yeah, that makes sense. And I think from a client perspective, the majority of them will be wanting a bit of escapism when they can come back to salons as well. So yeah, makes sense. And with the team then, as you mentioned, it might be that they are feeling a little bit of a lack of confidence, having not been doing their normal job for quite some time, or kind of stopping and starting.
Yeah.
So how important is it to sort of do refresher training or go back to basics?
I think it's incredibly important. And that's why I think you need a training schedule with your team. I think it's critical that we go back to basics, because you've been closed for so many months. That money is gone, it's not coming back. But every pound and every euro in that till is going to matter going forward. And we're either making the money or we're losing the money. And I've been doing an exercise with lots of salon owners, like, what is your salon's potential? Most people have figured out a way of keeping their businesses safe. So many people have improved their retail. So many people are doing consultations in retail and, you know, drop and collect or online shops or whatever. So most people have another revenue stream to bring on board. And it's important to hold on to that and to embed that into the new way of doing things. But we need to go back to basics. We need to look at that client service, that customer service journey. There's two things that we need to get right: the customer service journey combined with your internal sales process. So, and that's part of the reason I'm saying drop the COVID conversation, because that can be all consuming. Because we've been closed for so long, now it's like your business is totally restarting. So even though the person might be a very regular client, it's like your business is reopening. So we restart again. And what is it that you want from your client? Do you want them to come once for a single service, thanks very much and goodbye, see you sometime, hopefully? Or do you want to have a very clearly defined customer service journey where your customer service is so outstanding that every client has a want and a reason to come back to your business? And that we can really now take your customer service journey and elevate it, combined with outstanding technical work, because I know every distributor has been so helpful in terms of providing new techniques, training and upskilling. So we've got excellent technical work. If we combine that with an outstanding customer service, where everybody knows how to rebook the clients, retail to the clients, put clients on a plan so that every client leaves with their next appointment made, excited about coming back to your business because they miss you so much, buying their home care from you, and that your customer service provides a really enjoyable and successful sales journey for both the therapist or the stylist, whoever it is, and the client, and that no money is lost. So that we can take the businesses to their full financial potential this year. And that's what I mean when I say 2021 does have the potential to be your best year yet. Yeah, but I think, yes, customer service, back to the basics of customer services and the basic on how you grow your column effectively, easily. And, you know, why would you have anybody in your business who isn't a financial asset? Why would you have any client come in who doesn't add to your bottom line? And those two components need to be retaught to staff.
Okay, that makes sense. So would you also advise then that salon owners perhaps use this time to rewrite some of their procedures and their operations manuals and some of that kind of the things they use for training, I suppose? Is it time to relook at those?
It absolutely is. And, you know, I have this phrase, the devil is in the detail. And the more detailed that information is, means that you have taken out of your head what's perfectly obvious, put it into a document that becomes a training manual, and you then teach your staff the process that is going to give you the result that they want and that you want. You know, it's a shaky time. People are worried about losing their jobs, you know, about, you know, what if the business doesn't survive? Will my boss be able for all this? So I think it's very important to reassure people and equip them with the communication skills that, you know, that makes everybody feel successful and everybody aware of where this business is going. And we stay positive and optimistic on that. Definitely, the more you have in writing, and I've worked with thousands of salons at this stage, and there's two components that make salons successful in my observation throughout the years. And one is that if people know what you expect from them. So often people in salons, working in salons, say to me, I wish they would just tell me what they expect from me. So the clearer you are about what you expect, but if you have your customer service journey in a manual, a training manual, then I know exactly what you're asking me to do. And the second component that I see in really successful salons is open communication, direct communication, and very regular staff meetings.
Right.
So if you could plan, use this time now to plan and, you know, in a way, take off your business owner's hat and say, right, maybe print off. I know I was working with some salon owners lately and we just printed off the report. How much do your top 10 clients spend? So if your top 10 clients last year, or we'll say pre-COVID, spend £3,000 in a year, if we could make sure that 100 people could spend that money, or 1,000 people could spend that money. How safe is your business? So what's the customer service journey to make sure that it's easy for people to spend that £3,000? You figure that out, you put it in writing, you train your team, and every customer that comes in here has the opportunity to spend £3,000. How do we make that happen? Your job is safe and my business is safe. We're going to have a great time.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any, I know it's going to vary business to business, but are there any examples, I suppose, of things perhaps people should be adding into their customer journey or their sales process now?
Yes, definitely. So if I'm working, sometimes in the past I've been asked to go to a salon and teach people how to sell, and I might go in previously and have a treatment or something done. So I have to have the conversation with myself. If the customer service journey isn't right, there's absolutely no point in me teaching anybody how to sell, because if we don't take care of people, they're not going to want to come back. So I have this little phrase. It's that I say, people will forget what you've said. They'll forget even the work that you've done, but they'll never forget how you make them feel. So how I feel when I'm walking out your door, you know, and it doesn't matter how good my nails or my hair or anything else is, that's important. But how I feel is 10 times more important. So if I feel, oh my, you know, they could not have done any more to take care of me, I want more of that. So I will want to come back. So how you smile at me when I come through the door, making eye contact, knowing my name, taking my coat from me and making sure that I'm okay, talking to me, making it all about me, giving me 100% focus and attention, connecting with me, putting a plan in place for me. Clients love a plan. Single service is too difficult. Put a plan in place for all my clients. When the client is finished, then make sure it's not finished until I'm back out on the street. And I walked back nicely to reception, and my product's in a nice bag. All these little things matter. So take it apart, and like, how do we smile when we walk through the door? How do we make eye contact? Do we know everybody's name? Are we doing really good consultations? I know I'm talking about basics here, but there's a direct link between basics and you running a profitable business. So you get that right, and that's phase one, and you teach it to people. And then you decide, well, where do we sell? And the last business that I had, I made it a sales process. So you get your customer service right, or the last salon that I had. But on the phone, I used to say to people, you know, I worked from front house. So I would say to people, our salon is slightly different insofar as we'll work out a program of treatments for you. We'll also recommend the right home care for you. If you have any products at home and you're not sure how to use them, bring them in. So I started the selling at that point. Then when they come in, I would say to them, oh yeah, I was looking forward to seeing you. Have you got your products for me? These are the products that we work with. And, you know, and chat away to them and do a really effective consultation and then pass them over. So everybody has their little role to play. If you want your money up, revisit your consultation and nail that process, because that's when you do your selling. And if we're talking about a hair journey, then when I go to the backwash, then somebody tells me how great my hair is, but this would be even better if you bought this treatment and you buy these products. So we're all on this journey together to make sure the client gets an outstanding result.
Absolutely. And that's really interesting, because like you say, a lot of it is things that people kind of take for granted, and it is the basics, but putting them down and making them part of your expectations is a different thing, isn't it, than expecting it, you know, having it written down.
If you follow, it's about a process, and if you follow the process, you get the prize. And then you just close the sale. You know, will I give you that next appointment? Are these the 3 products that you want to buy? Because you've done the groundwork throughout the service. And, you know, technically you're working with amazing people, but they are very process driven. You know, they think in processes. So why not make your customer service journey a process, and why not make your sales communication a process? And you follow the process, and if you get the process right, you get the prize. So the prize is you get the rebooking, you get the retail sale, you get the big tip, you get the client on the plan, you get to do services that you enjoy on clients that you don't, on clients that you like. That's win-win for everybody. If I decide, well, I leave out part A or part B, or I won't do the consultation, you know, because I'm a bit hungry today and I'd rather speed the thing up and go and have my lunch. If I leave out part of the process, then I don't get the prize. So during the downtime, if you could take this time to be very specific, because remember, that's what your team want. I wish you would tell me what he expects from me. So let people know what you expect from them. Let them know how to do it. We're just back to basics. And so many times in salons, people say to me, and they get annoyed at me, and they sit there and they fold their arms and they say, but like, I've been doing this for 20 years. Like, I don't know why my boss has asked you to come in today. And I can say, well, and that it probably sounds a bit cruel, but the answer I give is like, well, quite frankly, no business owner rings me if the money is right. People only ever ring me if the money is right. So, so I'm sure you probably do know it all, and that must be wonderful to know it all. But if the money was right, I wouldn't be here. So can we visit the money? And you know, when people get used to having the money conversations, they're fine. So let people know what you expect of them, and let them know how much money you need them to make in order for them to be there. And yes, this is back to basics, and I do meet resistance with it when I'm in a salon, but you know, you have to get over the resistance and go forward. This is, you know, this is your livelihood. This is people's careers. And
I think so. It's about being honest, isn't it, and open with your team. We've had lots of comments actually as we've been talking about this. Debbie's commented, I always involve the staff in the business side so that they totally understand the process, and this motivates them. And I think that's true. I think that this is something that a lot of business owners across the board don't necessarily realise the importance of. I think if you have employees and you're open with them to a degree, you know, you're open with them as much as you can be about the financial side of the business and what's needed to make a profit and how much goes to profit and how, you know, what your costs are, it's going to make them a bit more motivated to contribute to that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, none of us like to feel that we're on the outside. We all like to feel that we're part of it, and that I play an important role here, and everybody has to know their value within the team. So if I have a column with my name at the top of it, is it my job to just wait and see what somebody books in for me and do those services? Or is it my job to take ownership of that column and, you know, increase my occupancy, increase my hourly, you know, the client's average spend and all that sort of thing? I won't know how to do that if somebody doesn't teach me, because I've just learned how to do the technical work. But if somebody would work with me and explain to me how to grow and build a client base and make my column super successful, and I then know what your running costs are, which are just like, you know, maybe telephone numbers to me, but I know that you invest enough time in me to make sure that I know what I have to do, I in turn will work back with you. And if I know that you need me to make £5,000 this week, and you teach me how to do it, and that keeps my job alive, provides career progression for me, keeps your business safe, well, then we all work together. And you know, the lockdowns are giving us time to actually peel all this back and sort of say, well, how do I make these changes? What do I need to do? Because building these manuals takes time and energy and effort. But if you have the time now, there's nowhere your business can't go. Yeah.
Excellent. We've had a few questions about, because we were talking a bit about communicating with your team while they were on furlough or while we're still in lockdown. So we've had a couple of questions around that. And Lauren has asked, my staff have asked if they can do anything. I'm just a bit worried as they're on furlough, but they're bored and they want to do something for the salon. Can they advertise for the business? So yeah, there's a bit of confusion about exactly, because I think they can do training, but they can't work for the business directly.
And this is really confusing because the guidelines seem to be so different and they're continually changing, and nobody wants to do anything wrong or anything that's offside. To me, there's a bigger plus from staff contacting you for that, and that's just to say that they are committed to working with you, and that is just wonderful. Even if there's nothing you can do, the fact that they've actually said that to you is just makes me feel that you have a team that are really motivated, which is really helpful. So I suppose check out your health and safety guidelines and make sure that you're not in breach in any of those in terms of our government guidelines. I mean, you're not in breach of any of those, and maybe like you know, a 15-minute conversation with each person on their own. What do you like doing? What do you feel you would like me to do? What can we work on together? And are you happy to do that? Yeah. And then that's just wonderful, because I'm talking about like moving your team forward. But you know, I can lead a horse to water, it can still die of thirst. So, you know, we need a really motivated team around us. So well done if your team are coming to you and saying, I want to help. Yeah, take the help. And that means they're going to be more involved in the reopening of the business. And yeah, you're all on the same page. So go for it. Yeah. And well done for having such a motivated team.
Absolutely. We've got another question from Jessica, who's asked, are we able to meet our teams at the moment?
Again, I'm really reluctant to give definitive answers for these, because there's people joining us from so many places.
Sure.
And what's right in one territory isn't right in the next, and it changes. Look, check the government guidelines and double check them, and please don't, you know, make sure what you're doing is above board and correct. And we can all make mistakes with the best possible, you know, intentions, but just be very careful that you have it right.
Yeah. But there's certainly, you can do online training at the moment. You can certainly meet your team online and communicate in that way. You know, obviously, check for anything beyond that.
And also to say, you know, it seems like we have a lot of time, but we will never have this time. Hopefully we'll never have it again. And it will be gobbled up fairly quickly. So, you know, if you're meeting with your teams on Zoom or whatever, that you have an actual agenda for those meetings and that you get an outcome, so that you're not having, you know, it doesn't end up just a conversation about the weather, that there, you know, there's an outcome, and that you meet them with an agenda, that, you know, that you feel you're moving forward, and that people are excited, not just about coming back to work, but excited about coming back to work in your business alongside you.
Yeah, because I was going to ask a bit more about that actually, because I think speaking to some salon owners after the first longer lockdown, I think some team members did kind of struggle with motivation, as we mentioned earlier, and getting back on track after all the upheaval and after such a long time of not being with clients. So do you have any advice for that, or how to get these types of team members excited again? I suppose people have just got overwhelmed by everything.
And that's why I'm saying, yeah, start sooner rather than later. Don't just open the doors to have to deal with that overwhelm, because you have to deal with that overwhelm with the clients who are a little bit out of sorts as well. So I think it's about building confidence with your team. And, you know, the motivation thing is a challenging one, because we only want people around us who are highly motivated. I feel as business owners, you know, motivation, and I often say this, you know, at events and things, how often do you eat your dinner and how often do you take a shower, or things like that? Well, they're daily activities. And motivation as a business owner or manager is in the same category. Like, we've got to help to motivate our team every day when we're open, I mean. But me personally, I expect people to come to me 50% motivated. Like, if I have somebody on my team and they're not motivated enough to get out of bed or get there on time or get the early bus, that sort of person is too difficult to motivate in this sort of climate. So I think it's about finding out the level of motivation that people have or want to have, and how committed they are to your business, and what do I love the question, what do you need from me in order for you to be at your best?
Fair enough.
So that is a conversation as a manager that I like to have with people. So on a one-to-one basis. So what is it that you need from me over the coming weeks in order for you to be at your best when we open our doors? But there's just another little sentence to add on to that, because quite frankly, if you're not at your best, you're not that much used to the customers, and you're not that much used to me. So what do you need from me in order for you to be at your best? And the people who aren't really at their best and never want to be, and are, you know, just going to work for the sake of it, they could be working anywhere. And it's not that we want people to leave, but what I'm actually doing is putting the accountability onto the person to decide to step up and be the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. And I will help to support you in that. But if you're not interested in coming here and giving 100% to your job and to our clients, well, maybe you need to have a little think about making room for somebody who does come to work feeling like that. So these are difficult things to think about, and definitely difficult conversations to have. But, you know, this is a very difficult time economically, and we don't have any space for prisoners or carrying people. So the motivation one is something that I think can be hugely enjoyable for salon owners, but that's my starting point. What is it that you need from me in order for you to be at your best by the time we reopen, because I won't be tolerating anything less. And do give yourself that favor. And then if people come to me and they're 50% motivated, coming through the door really early, delighted and excited to be there, then of course, as business owners, we will continue to do everything we can to help you stay there. But, you know, those difficult conversations, we need to have them, and have them sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. We've just had a question actually put through from Kaylee, who said, what sort of topics and training would you suggest to do with teams at the moment via Zoom?
So I think things like, so if we said, for example, we're going to work on the customer service journey over the next 6 weeks. And if I have 4 people on my team, I might give one person the job of coming on next week. Now, let's revisit the meet and greet process. So, A, will you take the meet and greet process, and will you teach all of us the best way that should be done? And then I might give B the consultation process. So can you revisit, B, will you revisit our consultation process so that we're all doing the same effective consultation process? And C, will you talk about walking the person from the chair to the basin and what goes on at the backwash? And rather than you having to be talking at everybody, that you give people their part. And this is what I mean about including people in the customer service journey. If I've been involved in working something out, in the delivery of it, in teaching my peers it, then I feel very important. If I know there's 4 of us on the call and my bit is to work out the meet and greet process, and I know the other 3 are going to have their homework done, I'll have my homework done. So that's what I would do. I would sort of, week 1 might be the customer service journey, and I give everybody their little bit of homework. And then the following week, we might take it and fine tune all that. And then the following week, I might do product knowledge. I feel everybody working in a salon, whether they're trained in every service or not, has a responsibility to know everything that goes on, be able to talk about every product and every service. So the next week, then we might do product knowledge. So we might give somebody shampoos, we might give somebody else conditioners, we might give somebody else cleansers. So everybody has to come and tell us all about, and people might be saying, "But I know all the products." Well, we forget things. We've been closed for nearly a year. So then I would revisit the product knowledge. Then I might do a day in like how to close the sale. So what are we going to do to close the sale? So I would gradually every week have a different little topic, but I would encourage the people on the call with me, like my team, that they all have something to bring to the table as well. So I hope I'm answering that question.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's great advice as well, because I think we've all heard about Zoom fatigue and people kind of just joining. And I think even more so than in a face-to-face meeting, a lot of people will join a Zoom call and just be quite passive, because it's almost like you're watching a screen, it's almost like you're watching TV. And so making them come to the table with something and join in and sort of be responsible, I suppose, for.
I think it's quite important. And in relation to product knowledge, because I work in so many salons, I couldn't possibly be trained in all the brands that I work with. So what I do if I'm doing a product knowledge training and people think, even whether it's on Zoom or on site, well, we just sit down and she can talk. Well, like she can't, because she hasn't got the information. So what I do is I just put products in a bag and I just pass them around to people, and I just say, tell us about this product, and I hand it to them. So if it was product knowledge, you don't have to do all the work yourself. I would just randomly ask person A, tell me about this product. Person B, tell us all about this product. So I find when I do it that way, people do their homework because they don't know what they're going to be asked. So they come, they come prepared. So it can be a little bit of fun and it can be enjoyable. And I think everybody learns, your team will learn as much from one another as they will from you.
Absolutely. We've got another question from Kelly, who said, during this time, is it the salon owner's responsibility to keep in touch with the team or the managers, bearing in mind the manager is on furlough? So I suppose it's how much can you ask of your manager if you have a manager to be involved in this process?
Yes, and it does depend on what the manager's role is. So if the manager's role is being the team leader, then they do need to be involved in this. And I know we don't want to break any rules, and I know the guidelines are there. But, how committed are people to their role? And how much help do they want to give at this point? And you know, there is a kind of like little note to self. So for example, towards the end of last year, I was working with a salon. I went on site, 2 people couldn't turn up. Then the salon owner asked me would I work with them on Zoom. I said yes, I would. Then they weren't available. And during lockdown, they could not find an hour each to come on Zoom. And then when the owner came back and said to me, look, we'll organise that for January. I know it was a bit cruel, but I actually said, no, we won't. If those people weren't committed enough, well, actually, there's a bigger conversation to be had here. And I'm not going to take your money, and I'm not going to waste my time begging people to be interested in your business. If they're not interested in it, then I think you need to have a conversation with them. So, and they're not easy conversations to have, but most of the teams that I've been in touch with, they miss work, they miss you, they miss the salon, they can't wait to get back. They want to learn, they want to upskill. So I think clarify how you're going to communicate and make sure that people are happy with it. And yeah, if people are really interested in your business, then great. If they're not, then I think, well, in my case, at that stage, I just had to say, well, why are we trying to pull teeth here with people?
Fair enough. Yeah, it's a 50-50.
It has to be. It always has to be that 50-50. Otherwise, it's out of balance.
Absolutely. And we've got a question from Gail who's asked, what would you recommend if you're bringing in all the clients and then your team lose the clients, they can't keep their clients? I suppose, yeah, is there any kind of training, I suppose, or
yes, and I'm not trying to plug my own things, but like buy my book and buy or come onto my website. I have stacks of free resources on my website. On the free resource page, it's just lizmckeon.com, and there's the answers to all your queries are there. The first person, if I want things around me to change, then the first person I have to look at is me. Okay, so if I run my column and 4 out of every 5 clients rebook, if I run my column as well as running my business and every client buys 2 products, well, then I've set the bar. And if I have 3 or 4 people working for me, why would I settle for them not doing that? I made a decision once as a salon owner when I was still working in the treatment room. From now on, it was one of those light bulb moments that I just said, right, from now on, I'm not employing anybody who's any weaker than me. They either have to be the same as me or better than me, and hopefully better than me, and that wouldn't be too hard. So I'm only employing a team of people who are better than me. And then I teach them the process. Okay. Now, I work with a lot of people who get it to that point. But there's another phrase here that people only respect what you inspect. So if you give me a job and you teach me the customer service journey and the sales process that works, and you give me my target, so I run a really successful column, this is the outcome. I'm teaching you how to do it. I expect you at a certain point after a few weeks to get the same outcome. Where we fall down is having a quality control process in there. So I've taught you the process. I've given you all the skill. I've given you the customers. I've given you I've told you what I want. I'm going to send in a mystery client shopper to make sure you're doing it. I'm going to send in, and I just, when I set up mystery client shopping in loads of salons. So what we will do is, or I'll come in someday and I'll be the mystery client shopper and I'll find out where the gap is. So we teach you then, well, maybe you're not doing the consultation right, or maybe you're not closing the sale. So we teach you again. And we check we have a quality control measure so if you're not getting if you're following the process and you're not getting the result, well, then we need to find out what's wrong. If you're not following the process that works, well, then you're definitely not going to get the result. And there's a conversation to be had. Well, why aren't you doing what we asked you to do and what we employed you to do? And perhaps maybe you need to do it, or make room for somebody here who is going to do it. So I have to start with me first. Was there something wrong with my training? Was there something wrong with my teaching? Did I not make it very clear what I expect you to do? Have I not taught you fully how to do it? Now, am I checking that you're doing it? And if you're not, well, then we have to make a decision. And I actually had somebody in my classroom the year before last who just literally one day after 8 weeks with somebody that she was really happy with, all the clients go on a plan, all the clients rebook, and this person decided it was okay not to rebook the clients. And it's the first time I've ever heard anybody just say it out loud. And she just said to the person, you're not following the process, you can't stay here.
So you've got to be tough sometimes, I suppose, is part of the message.
You do have to be tough, yeah, because, you know, if we look at other industries, you do what you're told. And I know somebody put up, and I'd forgotten I'd even said this, somebody put up in a comment the other day on a webinar that I was doing, yeah, when you go to McDonald's, you don't expect Ronald to give you your burger. But when you, and I think I must have said that somewhere along the line, because she said, like you said, Liz, but, you know, if I'm working behind the counter in McDonald's, I don't, you know, get to look at, you know, my customers coming forward, and I say to myself, well, these all look far too fat. I'm not going to say, would you like a supersized meal? I don't get to make that decision, or I'm going to be sacked. I have to say to everybody, do you want fries with that, or do you want a supersized meal, or whatever? I don't deviate from the process because I'm going to get sacked.
Yeah.
So I think the lockdown is just giving people time to look at these little things, but that matter hugely. It gives you time to have a think about them and decide, well, if process A works, well, then we just stick to that process, and that's just it.
Yeah, and it's making sure everyone's on board with that. And I know we're kind of running out of time, but I've just got one more question from Rashna, who asked a while ago, who's just said, do you have any advice for people who are running mobile businesses? What efforts should they be putting in now? Because I know there will be quite a few self-employed and freelance people watching.
I think if you're self-employed and you're freelance and you work by yourself, you are the team. And this probably sounds like a weird thing to say, but you have to become objective about yourself, you know, and see yourself as the team, and almost, you know, decide on your customer service journey, on your sales process. You give yourself your target, you get feedback from your customers. So exactly the same thing applies to you. So you could be a mobile, you could be running your business from your box room at home. You could have, you know, you could have a chain of salons. You could have one salon with 1 or 2 people working. The process stays the same.
So again, it's re-looking at everything you do, what's working, what's not, how the process is being followed. And kind of retrain yourself in a way, if you like.
Retrain yourself, retrain your team, set your standards. Know that, you know, that the level of detail is important. Know the outcome that you want, and you know, there's a certain bar you don't go under. You only keep raising it, and you know, there's always somewhere you can go. That we can always take your business to the next level and the next level and the next level.
Fantastic. Well, Liz, I know we're pretty much running out of time, so thank you so much, not just for today, but for all 3 sessions you've done with us.
No, my pleasure. And the time always flies, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I think we've got so much engagement. Lots of people have been commenting, saying it's really useful and great to
good.
Some positivity, I think, as well, and some plans for moving through this and having a positive 2021 once we can reopen. So thank you.
My pleasure, and good luck to everybody. And if I can be of any help, just let me know.
Fabulous. And thank you everyone for joining us. Do keep an eye on our websites for more upskill sessions coming up. We've got lots more over the next few weeks, and we will see you soon. But thank you, Liz, and thanks everyone.
Thank you, and bye to everybody.
Bye.
Bye.